goes. It's low. Throw to second base. They've got him in a rundown. Terang now will throw to third.
Well, yesterday we had a play very similar to the one that you are about to watch.
James Hoy, the third base umpire. And what is the call? Are they calling obstruction?
Brewers and Rays, this play does involve obstruction at third base.
They're calling obstruction, and they are awarding home to the runner at third, Christopher Morel.
This play involves base blocking obstruction, the act of a fielder not in possession of the ball, not in the act of fielding, impeding the progress of any runner.
I mean, he is straddling the bag. I mean, you can see why he does make the call. You got to kind of give him a lane.
As I mentioned in the open yesterday, an obstruction no call resulted in 2 Cincinnati ejections. I'm going to compare and contrast these two plays, explaining why both calls are correct. First up, Cincinnati and Atlanta.
I think they got him. Yep. Yes, they did.
Also, they might consider whether Ozzie was blocking the base. I think
Obstruction was a point of emphasis in 2014. This is what we said about it at the time. Succinctly, the league office will instruct umpires to rule a runner safe in the event a fielder blocks the runner's path through the base while preparing to receive the throw. So the reason the Cincinnati play was not obstruction, the runner's out, is because Albies didn't drop his knee until he actually caught the ball. In other words, the Cincinnati-Atlanta play is legal because he had possession of the ball to the fielder. Now let's talk about in the act of fielding the ball.
To slide into, but
It has to be egregious, says Pat Murphy, which is not in the rulebook at all. Base blocking, even if it's not egregious, is obstruction. Possession and active fielding are the two exemptions, so let's look at the play again.
I see Morel just slides into the foot.
Freeze frame, the fielder clearly doesn't have the ball yet, and he is clearly blocking the runner's path. But there is one other exemption to the rule, fielding the ball. Is he considered in the act of fielding?
It's straddling the bag, a judgment call by the umpire. He calls it obstruction right away.
You might think he is. He's about to catch a ball, but the answer is actually no. According to the 2024 point of emphasis, fielder sticking the knee or the leg out without the ball is still guilty of obstruction if he doesn't need to occupy that space in order to field the ball.
Remember, this happened on the last homestand, and there goes Pat Murphy.
The intent of the 2024 emphasis was to bring to all bases the obstruction standard at home plate's collision rule, which states the catcher is guilty of a violation if they block the runner's path without the ball unless they do so in a legitimate attempt to field the throw. In other words, only if the throw takes them there.
Look at this as Terang throws it over to...
On this play, because the fielder straddles and blocks without needing to be in that space to field the throw, it is obstruction by this new point of emphasis on the existing obstruction rule.
As Ricky Weeks is trying to defuse the situation.
Finally, the runner gets home as opposed to just being awarded third because on obstruction type 1, a play being made on the obstructed runner at the time, the obstructed runner automatically gets at least one base beyond their prior base.
Yeah, Pat Murphy is letting him have it.
The game's on the line, too.
Yeah.
To recap, that's how the Cincinnati play was legal. The Atlanta fielder had the ball first, whereas the Milwaukee fielder did not have the ball, was not legitimate, therefore it is obstruction.
And now Murph is letting the home plate umpire, DJ Rayburn, have a piece, too. That's frustrating, as Murph fires his hat.